Guys, welcome back to another episode on the Shops Pod. My name is Sarah, and I'm the host of the Shops Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest on the show, all the way from Ireland, and I'm super excited to be hosting her on my podcast today. So, guys, I know that her name is Ria, and she's a child's rights ambassador representing Ireland. But I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself properly to us because I'm not doing justice to the introduction. So, hi Ria, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. Hi everyone. My name is Raya. I'm 17 years old. I'm Nigerian living in Ireland. I've been here for nearly 10 years now. And I'm a child right ambassador. I'm representing Ireland in the European Parliament. So I do a lot of work with the EUR Child Children's Council, where I just talk to a lot of children in Europe, decision makers, presidents, and trying to make like a better life for children in Europe. That's a brief introduction.
Thank you for joining me on the podcast today. So, firstly, I would just like us to start with, can you describe a time that you faced a significant obstacles and how you were able to overcome it?
Perfect. So, as I mentioned before, I'm Nigerian. So I moved from Nigeria when I was a kid. And it was really hard, like as a child coming to primary school because like the whole system is different here. And I was 9 when I moved. So in Ireland, the educational system is very strict. So you have to be a certain age in a certain class. And I was 9 in 5th class, so I was very advanced. But they didn't have the facilities to condone that. So I had to be taken 2 classes down into 3rd class. So I had to do extra work in my time because what they were doing was very easy as to what level I was in. So it took a toll on me. So I had to like take extra classes behind and do more work. And my mom always encouraged me to like read ahead of class. So I'd go like 2-3 chapters ahead, trying to get myself ahead because I take my education very seriously. So I like to have really like top grades. So I would say that was like experience that put me back a bit. But once you work hard, you reach a goal and it doesn't become tough anymore. Yeah.
That's great. So, if I may ask, you actually traveled on your own, or you went with your parents?
I came with my family, with my mom and my sister.
Okay, you moved with your mom and your sister.
Yeah, so like we moved over to another country. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great. I get that. All right. So, how have you been able to handle those challenges? You know, there are different challenges that you actually encountered when you relocated. So how have you been able to handle those challenges?
Kind of looking on the brighter picture because like I have goals. I'm the type of person that has like I need to have plans and stuff that I want to do. So working toward those goals take your mind off like other stuff that you may be thinking about, as well as like surrounding yourself with other people that are in the same situation as you. So I think from the period of 2014 to like 2018, a lot of Nigerians were moving. So it was actually not that hard for me to like find Nigerian friends or people who had moved from other countries, and then you become friends with them. You talk about like the issues that you're facing, and it helps you when you have someone going through a similar experience as you, because then it's not as tough to take on by yourself. So integrating myself with people who are in the same position as me, I think helps. Not just in like a certain issue that I'm having, but in everything. Like, for example, if you have an exam and you're studying with a friend who's also as stressed as you, it's more productive because you have a goal that you're working towards. So I would say that's how I dealt with my issue.
That's great. Okay, so thank you for sharing that with us. How have you been able to maintain the motivation and also the drive to inspire others? You are a child right ambassador, right? And I know that you have so many people in your circle that you just want to motivate, or just to help them to achieve their goals.
So I would say kind of understanding the position that you're in. For me, it's more towards like the Black African community or people of color, because obviously there's a predominant amount of white people abroad, and you're going to get treated differently because you look different. So I think my motivation comes from like inspiring other people who look like me, that you're able to reach a goal if you work hard for it, because a lot of people get like discouraged when they notice that there's a predominant amount of like people who are different, so you know immediately that you don't fit in. It's like imposter syndrome, like you just know you're not meant to be there. But I don't believe that's true. Like if you work hard, you're able to find a place where you belong. And I think that's how I have a balance of like motivating myself, because I know that one day there's going to be younger children who are just like me, who have such a big role, and usually they might not know how to handle it. So like the more things I do like this that can reach a larger audience, people can understand that they're not alone. If you think about what you're trying to reach, I think it really motivates you to keep going and like making friends along the way, because every journey is tough, but it matters like the journey of how you get there, not the end point, I think. Yeah.
I believe that once you have a particular dream in mind, trying, ensuring that we actually strive to get to that point of achieving those goals is very important. And one thing I would say is that community, or having someone that is also heading towards that path or is already on that path, that that can inspire us to also do better and also achieve our goals. What do you believe are the key qualities that a change maker should actually possess if we want to overcome global challenges?
You have to be really passionate about what you're doing. If you're doing something with no passion or motivation, it's not going to end well. So you need to make sure that whatever you're trying to work on, you have like a vision set in your mind, and you have the capacity to reach like people who you need to help you achieve what you want to do. I think that's like how I would phrase it. Just have like a vision of what you want to do and then work towards that vision. If you keep going into too many things, you won't be able to keep up and you might end up disappointing yourself. So if you have a vision or passion, like genuine passion, that you want to do something, not just because you want to be a change maker, but because you're making change for something that would help others, I think is the way to go about it.
Thank you for that. As a child rights ambassador, what are the things that you do?
Perfect. So as I previously mentioned, I'm part of the EUR Child Council. So it's a council in Europe that contains 11 children around Europe, each from a different country. So I'm from Ireland, but there's people from Scotland, Croatia, Serbia, Germany, Estonia, like it goes on. So we have meetings online every month, and then every few months we go to Belgium and Brussels, and they cover like my tickets, my flights, and my mom can come with me sometimes, or I go in her organization. And then when we meet in person, we talk about the issues that we think are in our country that are affecting children, and then we try to come up with solutions that we think might solve that issue. And then they also give us the opportunity to meet like members of the parliament. So the European Parliament is kind of like the UN, but based off EU countries. So all the EU countries come together and they solve policies. So they give us the opportunity to meet these decision makers, politicians, presidents, and kind of talk to them about how we think they should integrate children more into lawmaking to make sure that every child has a healthy childhood, etc. But I also do have the opportunity to do like research programs. So I was recently doing a research program. It was funded by the European Commission. And we were just talking about the impact that COVID-19 had on children in Europe. And if a pandemic were to happen again, what are the steps that we can take to make sure that their mental health is not restricted? Children who have additional needs are not like just shoved away just because there's other problems in place. That we have a chance to social life, because a lot of children were affected by not seeing a lot of children around them, like younger children who grew up without going to the park, without going to birthday parties. Their social interactions were restricted because now they have they have troubles making friends, so it's things like that I work on. Many other, but I would say compressed. That's like an idea of what I do. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And I am so impressed because a lot of things are actually involved in being an ambassador for a child right. So, when it comes to prioritizing your obstacles, we all have obstacles in our life. There are things that might probably be hindering us from achieving a particular thing. So, when it comes to prioritizing obstacles to address first when working towards a goal, how do you prioritize your obstacles?
Okay, so obviously as a child, I don't have that much demeaning obstacles. But like in terms of my work, the obstacles that I might face is probably people not listening to what I have to say because I'm a child. I know sometimes people think that children are too like immature. So when you're actually trying to bring about change, there seems to be like an ageism barrier. I might not have that much obstacles, but the obstacles that I have would be in terms of my work and maybe balancing my extracurriculars from my school studies. So like the first thing I mentioned is usually when you're involved in such a political stance, they tend to be miscommunication because older people might not necessarily want to listen to what younger people have to say. So you just have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And then there's a loss of translation as to what exactly you're trying to reach and bring about change. But as well as my work as well, I have trouble balancing like schoolwork with the work that I'm doing because I don't want to like have bad grades, but I also don't want to miss out on the work that I'm trying to do. So the way that I fix that is I do study plans. So I make sure I have things done for their deadlines so I'm not too behind. But I'm not perfect at it. I'm working at it. But I would say those are kind of the obstacles that I'm facing as of right now. But obviously as I get older, I'm gonna have more serious obstacles. But as for now, that's it.
Right. So, can you describe a time where you have to adapt quickly to change, and maybe it's outside of your control, and how were you able to manage it?
I would also say definitely moving countries. The Nigerian culture is very different to the Irish culture. In terms of like even social interactions, like here people are more likely to call older people by like their first names. There isn't that like very serious respects that Nigerians instill in you from a young age. So obviously you have to adapt to that as well and change your lifestyle, but also not let it affect the way that I interact with my family who are Nigerians and expect a sort of like communication standard from you. And also just the way of like living. It's very like Nigerians are hard workers compared to people here. Like I'm not saying that they're not hard workers, but even when you see Nigerians that come here, they work like a lot of hours. They're on the grind 24/7 because they're trying to make a better life for themselves. And yeah, and probably the weather as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of Irish weather. It's really cold and it rains all the time, whereas Nigeria is very sunny. Because I was just in Nigeria a few months ago and I had not realized how hot it was because I've been here for so long. But I would say those are kind of adaptations that I have to like adapt to, I guess.
That's great. Okay. So this will be my last question actually. So if you are to advise a teenager like you, what advice would you give to them?
Take opportunities as they come because you never know what you might get out of it. Like as I was saying, I have the roles of a child right ambassador, but the way that I got that role was actually I was in my room, the same room actually, and I was on my phone and I got an email about the opportunity to be on this council. And then I like swiped it away and then I continued about my day. And then a few hours later, I thought to myself, I was like, why don't I do it? Because I've never been involved in like politics or whatever. And I'm actually the first girl in the group of the council that wasn't integrated in any sort of politics. But I just saw it as a good idea to get myself out there and build my CV to help me achieve my dreams later. So it took me 10 minutes to fill out the form. And I actually forgot about it until about 3 to 4 months later when they emailed me back and they're like, congratulations, you have the role. So I would always encourage people to take opportunities as you see them, because even though it might seem weird or something that you're not interested in, it could come off as something very important in your life, like it is for me today. Even educational opportunities, always enter competitions. I know like now teenagers might say, oh, if you're studying, that's weird, you should go out and have fun, you only live once. But I think you need to understand that there's a balance to life. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have fun, but you also need to think about what your actions now will affect your future later on. So I would always
Yeah.
encourage teenagers not to listen to what other people have to say about what you're doing, or if you're doing something they're like, oh, that's so weird, don't do that. You should follow what you think would be better for you, because everybody's different. You can't judge your actions based off what someone else says.
That's great.
Yeah, I would think just follow your dreams, even though other people might think it might not work well for you. But yeah.
That's it. Wow, that's a lot of advice. Follow your dream. Don't listen to what people say. If you believe and you can do it, just follow what your mind says. Though
Yeah.
it doesn't change the fact that they shouldn't listen to advice from people older than them, or people that have gone through that path before. But sometimes when because if you're explaining your dream, like you want to do something to someone, the person might actually discourage you. But once you believe you can do it, then go for it. Wow, that's a great advice. Thank you, Ria, for I had a very insightful conversation with you, and I hope one of these days would actually invite you on the platform. So I don't know if you have something to say aside from the conversation.
Oh no, just for everyone listening, even if you're an adult, you can take the advice as well. It's not too late. Like if you're someone working, say, a 9-to-5 job, and you have a really great business idea, just start it, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like you don't just because you chose something a while ago doesn't mean you have to stick with that for a while, because people change and the environment changes. Just adapt to the way your life changes. Don't just follow it because it's comfortable for you, if that makes sense. But yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense. So the advice is not just for teenagers, it's also for anybody. If it actually applies to your life, just make use of it. Thank you, Rhea, for joining me today. I'm super grateful for having you on the show. Thank you.
No problem.
much.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
I do have a nice day. Great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.